Hello everyone and welcome to this video lecture session. In this session, we will discuss on a fascinating topic, rural culture. Understanding rural culture is not just an academic exercise. It is fundamental to comprehending a significant portion of the world's population and their distinct way of life. Furthermore, as we will explore, it holds immense importance, particularly in the field of marketing and business in rural areas. By the end of this unit, you should be able to achieve several key learning objectives. First, you will gain a clear understanding of what rural culture means and recognize its vital importance, especially within the context of rural marketing. Second, we aim for you to appreciate why rural culture is significant for expanding markets in rural regions. Third, you will be able to identify the various factors that shape and influence the composition of rural area cultures. And finally, you will be introduced to different strategies that businesses can adopt to effectively integrate with rural culture for more impactful marketing efforts. Let's begin by defining what we mean by rural culture. At its core, rural culture refers to the distinct customs, values, lifestyle, and social structure characteristic of communities located outside urban centers. These communities are typically deeply connected to their natural environment, reliant on agriculture, and centered around strong community living. This forms a fundamental part of the social fabric in many countries around the globe. The term encompasses the idea, traditions, and ways of living basically prevalent in villages and rural areas. It often represents a way of life characterized by antiquity and simplicity, deeply tied to the land and the environment. In contrast to the faster paced, technology driven culture often found in metropolitan regions, rural culture emphasizes sustainability, adheres to traditional customs, and values strong interpersonal ties. This subculture frequently encapsulates the very essence of a nation, symbolizing the deeply held values of its people. Rural areas serve as vital hubs for preserving cultural traditions passed down through generations, maintaining national heritage and identity despite modernization. It's important to see rural culture not as static but as a dynamic and multifaceted entity. It reflects fundamental principles of human interaction with both nature and community. Its core elements include agricultural practices, artistic expressions, deeply held social benefits, and the overall social structure of the community. Rural communities possesses their own unique culture distinct from urban environments. This difference stems from a set of inherent characteristics that define their way of life, making them indigenous and distinct. These attributes describe not just a lifestyle but also a specific organizational structure within these communities. Let's explore some of these key characteristics. First, rural culture is often compositional and assimilative. It's a system where human activities are closely blended with natural forces, often utilizing local resources like forest products for both subsistence and commercial purposes. Many communities rely heavily on such products for their livelihood, integrating their use into their culture. Second, community living is paramount. Rural areas are characterized by strong social links and a palpable sense of collective responsibility among members. This isn't limited by age or gender. Every community member often contributes to earning a livelihood and meeting collective or individual needs. Third, the culture focuses on agriculture. Farming is typically the primary occupation, and much of rural life, including seasons and celebrations, revolving around agricultural cycles. Naturally, the markets developed here are heavily based on agro based products, and marketing strategies must be tailored to the beliefs and local context. Fourth, traditional practices are deeply ingrained. Daily life is significantly influenced by time honored beliefs, rituals, and customs passed down through generations. These traditions profoundly enrich the culture. For marketeers, understanding these practices is vital before introducing goods or services. Fifth, folk art and music are key expressions of rural culture. Folk dances, music, crafts, and storytelling reflect local history and social values. These elements can be powerful tools in marketing using native languages or folk music to connect with the audience. Sixth, the joint family system remains widely prevalent, with elders often playing a significant role in decision making. This structure can be advantageous for marketing goods and services that have broad utility for all family members, such as everyday consumables. Seventh, religious influence is strong. Religion plays a vital role with temples, festivals, and local deities serving as focal points of life. Any marketing strategy must be mindful of and respectful towards the religious beliefs and cultural sensitivities of the community. Eighth, villagers typically lead a simple lifestyle. It's often uncomplicated and unpretentious, with less emphasis on extensive material consumption. Demand is often focused on essential commodities necessary for daily life. Ninth, while agriculture is central, there is often a diversification of occupations. People engage in activities like fishing, handicrafts, animal husbandry, and small scale rural industries. This creates demand not only for consumer goods but also for raw material and inputs needed for these various activities. Finally, self sufficiency is often an aspiration. Villages frequently aim to be self reliant in essentials like food, clothing, and housing, depending heavily on local resources. However, they do rely on external industries for goods they cannot produce themselves, such as manufactured items, electrical devices, of durable goods. Now, let's look at the key components that make up this rich and varied tapestry we call rural culture. These are the building blocks formed by traditions, customs, way of life, and social structures. They collectively exemplify the simplicity, resiliency, and strong communal bonding characterized of rural living. First, traditions and rituals. These are practices passed down through generations and widely observed. They influence significant life events like wedding, religious ceremonies, and even agricultural rites. The preservation of this indigenous knowledge is essential for maintaining community identity. Second, agriculture and livelihood form the very foundation. Agriculture shapes economic activities and daily existence. Livelihoods are centered around farming, animal husbandry, and handicrafts with a strong dependence on natural resources. Celebrations are often tied to agricultural cycles. Third, social structures and community bonds are incredibly strong. Rural life is characterized by vibrant interpersonal interactions and tightly knit communities. Joint family systems are common, with elders often holding significant decision making power. Activities like collective labor, social events, and village meetings reinforce a powerful sense of solidarity and shared responsibility. Fourth, handicrafts, folklore, and oral traditions significantly enrich the culture. Storytelling, folk music, dance, and local crafts like pottery or weaving are vital for communicating the community's heritage. These not only preserve culture but also often contribute to the local economy. Fifth, food and dining traditions are distinct. Rural cuisine is typically simple, organic, and closely linked to locally grown produce. Using home ground food, traditional cooking techniques, and engaging in communal meals are essential elements. Certain dishes often hold significant symbolic meaning during celebrations. Sixth, beliefs and spirituality are deeply embedded. Religion significantly impacts daily routine and interactions. Places of worship, such as temples or shrines, functions as important gathering sites. Spirituality and associated rituals provide guidance and foster social cohesion within the community. Seventh, education and transmission of knowledge occur through various channels. While formal education access varies, a great deal of knowledge is passed down through informal learning from elders and skilled individuals covering areas like farming techniques, traditional healthcare, and handicrafts. 8. Festivals and celebrations are a core stone of rural life. These events are lively, firmly rooted in traditions, and often connected to agricultural cycles like harvest. People come together to celebrate, which powerfully strengthens their sense of solidarity and cultural pride. Ninth, sustainable living is often a key characteristic. Rural communities maintain a close connection with nature, frequently employing sustainable farming practices, utilizing eco friendly construction methods, and focusing on resource conservation. Their daily life often reflects a deep seated desire for harmony between humans and the environment. Finally, while robust rural culture faces obstacles and the influences of modernity, it is constantly evolving. Traditional lifestyles are challenged by factors like migration to urban areas, rapid technological advancements, and external influences. A crucial aspect for communities today is finding a balance between embracing modernity and preserving their unique cultural heritage. Now, let's transition to why understanding rural culture is so critical, specifically in the context of rural marketing. The rural market in India, for instance, is vast and growing, with a significant portion of the population residing in rural areas. To develop effective marketing plans for this segment, a deep understanding of the beliefs and customs of rural people is absolutely essential. This is because culture profoundly influences consumer behavior. It shapes what people want and need, how and when they buy, and how they perceive and relate to brands. Understanding these cultural beliefs is the key to designing marketing strategies that are not just effective but also culturally relevant and accepted. As mentioned, the large size of the rural market makes it unavoidable for businesses. In India, for example, it represents over two-thirds of the population. This market is rooted in a culture characterized by long standing customs, strong religious beliefs, and a relatively simple way of life compared to urban centers. People live in societies that are often very connected and interdependent. A critical aspect of marketing is the social structure. Decisions in rural households and communities are often influenced by family elders, respected community leaders, and prevailing social norms. This tendency towards group or influenced decision making is crucial for marketing management. Companies need to understand who influences purchasing choice to create advertising messages, packaging, and product that resonate and gain acceptance within this social framework. Another vital consideration is the strong link to agriculture. Income in rural areas is often seasonal, heavily dependent on farming cycles, the success of the harvest, and even the monsoon season. This seasonal flow of money means marketeer must carefully time their activities. Product launches, promotional campaigns, and even pricing strategies need to align with periods when rural consumers have more disposable income, such as immediately after the harvest or during major festivals. Ignoring this seasonality can lead to campaign failure. Festivals and religious occasions hold immense significance in rural life. They are much more than just times for celebration. They are also important occasions for shopping and gift giving. Marketeer can leverage this by linking their campaign to local festivals or using themes that are culturally familiar and respected. This approach is more likely to build trust and create an emotional connection with rural customers, which is key as rural consumers often develop strong long term loyalty to brands they trust and accept. Reflecting their simple lifestyle, rural consumers are often budget conscious. This translates into a demand for products that are durable, affordable, and easy to use. They often prefer goods sold in smaller packages and at lower price points, fitting within their daily or weekly budgets. Products that require minimal maintenance are also highly valued. Marketeers who fail to consider these practical needs and preferences will struggle, while those who adapt their offerings are more likely to succeed. Finally, two other critical aspects are trust and communication. In rural areas, the experiences and recommendations of neighbors and community members are often trusted far more than conventional flashy advertisements. This makes local influencer marketing, leveraging satisfied customers, and local opinion leaders an incredibly powerful tool. Furthermore, communication needs to be culturally appropriate. Using the native language is non negotiable. Traditional form of media such as folk songs, wall paintings, or street shows are often more familiar and impactful than purely urban media channels. Marketeers must adapt both the content of their message and the method of delivery to effectively connect with the rural audience. Dear learners, we shall now pause this first part of video lecture in which we have learnt about the basic concept of rural culture, its characteristics and components constituting rural culture. We have also discussed about the rationale of rural culture in rural marketing. In the second part of lecture, we shall come across the influence of rural culture along with the strategies adopted for execution of sales in rural market and drawbacks of rural culture. Until then, stay connected and keep learning.